Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I'm sorry, I was jamming. Y'all, welcome to another edition of the Black Dimension. I am currently the numero uno head honcho. I'm here to bring you the introduction. I am Thoughtmonger Nani. With me, I got Shao Kev and the Roger Report, and Roguish Sun has just popped into the building. He's been sucked into the Black Dimension. Yeah, today we are going to have a conversation based on Killmonger's entry into Black Panther 2. I know you want to hear what's going on with that. We're also going to talk about the new Mortal Kombat and how they have casted Steve Harvey. Let's get it popping.
All right. Well, this here is the real number one. I am the Roger Report. Just getting some. Let's put some respect on what's going on around here. Donnie would never be first. Anyway, I'm ready to get it cracking. Y'all can introduce yourselves. We can pass it to Rogus if you want to introduce yourself real quick, and then we can go to Kev.
Sure, what it do, y'all? Son of North Tulsa, Oklahoma. Just here as a guest, willing to take in all this light y'all putting out here. So let's have some fun with it. Yeah, get any of that?
And we got.
Of course.
We got you.
Yeah, and
Who
of
next?
course,
Who next on the batter up?
and of course, I have also been sucked into the Black Dimension, but for some reason, I always find my way out and get back to the real world. But for now, I'm chilling. This is Shao Kev for this broadcast, and we're here to talk about the Killmonger being re-entered into the MCU, and we know that's due to a special set of circumstances. And also, we're going to talk about some 2021 Mortal Kombat today. Something I've been looking forward to for quite some time myself. So let's get on with it. Let's have this little discussion here. First, go ahead.
Before we get started, I just want to say that Donnie is right. Donnie is always right. Donnie said in the past, Killmonger's going to make a return. But go ahead.
I mean, we all knew Killmonger was going to make a return. Like I said before, they never showed him dead on the screen. All they did was show the man fall over. So it was too much to play with. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't think this is technically a special set of circumstances, but I don't think it was the special circumstance that brought him back. I believe he was coming back regardless.
That nigga was dead. Let me tell you why they brought him back. They brought him back because Shuri is not capable of being a Black Panther. They haven't set the groundwork. Therefore, they need a reason to have a star with the level of talent that Killmonger had. Now, we could go to Black Foot. Never mind. You know what? I'm not even going to remind y'all of that episode because that episode was dope. But y'all have to listen to it. But Killmonger was brought back because they don't have a T'Challa. So since they don't have a proper champion, Shuri is not capable of being a champion. That movie would have to be spent on her. It would have to have a whole training montage of years and XYZ. Shuri's just not capable. The easiest way to explain that is with the Killmonger.
Yeah, I think that they would have to quickly grow the character up, and that's something that they have not had enough time to do. I mean, they had enough time to do it with T'Challa because they started him out of Civil War. But, and the fact that they went in and made Shuri comical and immature, and it just probably wouldn't work at this point. Like Donnie said, there would have to be some more character development. Now, Eric Killmonger, a theory was brought up. I mean, me and Donnie were talking, and Donnie was like, well, might have a lot to do with the 5-year time skip.
Mm-hmm.
But it could make sense. I mean, Killmonger, he wasn't snapped away, and he was nursed back to health and was able to find his good side and become a noble king, or he could become the Killmonger that he said he was in Black Panther 2, and it could have had an effect on Wakanda's whole entire ecosystem and their political system and all of that stuff. So, I mean, it'll be very interesting.
They made him an anti. He was really an anti-hero in the movie. He wasn't so much, at least in my opinion, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of people agree with me. Killmonger wasn't so much a villain in that movie. He was an anti-hero, and he had methods that were at times unscrupulous. But when the snap happened, who was left? Shuri was gone, right? So you can't say Shuri grew up in that 5 year time frame. So Shuri was gone. T'Challa was gone. Who had a right to the throne but Eric Killmonger? So he probably was, being revived. They gave him a set of parameters. Who knows what it is? But I think they'll start with that.
That'll be interesting. That mean that Wakanda will have a whole lot more power over the Black Panther then. That'll be interesting. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way I can look at it. You only have one man with the right to the throne. He's in the ICU or whatever their version of it is. And he has his redemption arc. Maybe he's got time to listen and learn. And then the snap happens. T'Challa's back. Shuri's back. T'Challa dies magically. Now he has to keep the mantle. He has to pass it on to Shuri somehow. So I'm thinking that this movie is going to. Well, go ahead.
What they gonna do? Put that nigga on the lion process or something? Have him become the king like that?
Well, he technically he's the only heir, so he would have to. Oh, are you talking about Shuri?
Nah, Killmonger. That nigga have to earn the crown, right?
Nah,
technically he did earn it. Technically, he earned it beforehand. But my thing is, you still don't know how they gonna spin this, what direction they gonna spin in, because M'Baku might be the one that people want to favor.
I mean, like
it's gonna. I think it's gonna be determined on how quickly Killmonger was revived, which I think more than likely it would be right away, because if he wasn't brought back somewhat right away, because we don't know the actual time frame from the disappearing, what happened right before the Thanos snap. You got M'Baku, who would be probably the head person unless Killmonger was already ready to go.
M'Baku was leader of another tribe, so technically there's 4 other tribes. That's why when they went to M'Baku in the other movie, and in the first movie, he was their first pick to be champion and to fight it out. But realistically, if Killmonger's alive, he's the one with the right to the crown.
No, I get that, but I'm saying if Killmonger was revived right away, it's an easy, smooth thing. But now, what if Killmonger was out for 3, 4, 5 months? What if it's one of those situations? Well, now you got M'Baku running the show, and then will M'Baku just turn it over to Killmonger? You got a whole story you can tell right there.
I'm willing to bet that nigga was healed almost instantly and thrown in jail. And they had to come to him.
So we gonna take. Well, I mean, that's an interesting thing. Did they put him in jail or not? Because now, if you put him in jail, was he brought out of prison to be king?
That's what I think. How many movies have you seen where they done visited the dude in prison and talked to him, and now all of a sudden he's the king, or he's leading a mission, or he's doing something
like running the joint?
I mean, Loki already got that arc somewhat going on.
So my thing is, he's not a true villain, right? He's an anti-hero. Easy to push back onto the right path, quote unquote. They probably put some stipulation on him, like maybe T'Challa's mother is running the country, but he has to be the Black Panther. And they hit this nigga with the Suicide Squad collar. I don't know. They'll work it out, I'm sure.
I think that, like the other article I had on the screen said, it could be a multiversal twist. Like WandaVision is just starting, and they could pull a good Killmonger out of another universe. But, that probably wouldn't make sense now that I think about it, because if they can pull a good Killmonger out, why can't they pull a different T'Challa out? So, yeah, that would be complicated. Plus, Killmonger still has the effects of the flower. and it's supposed to have healing factor, and because Killmonger's wound was mortal, the healing might have taken a bit longer. I mean, writers can just about do anything as long as the plot makes sense. But I'm with Roger. I think that despite the special set of circumstances, and let's just go ahead and say the death of Chadwick Boseman, if Chadwick Boseman had lived and miraculously recovered, Eric Killmonger's probably would still have been included in the film. He was just too impactful a character. Like that's what I'm thinking.
He had a Loki effect. He had the Loki effect. When the Avengers came out, people loved Loki so much they had to do something with him. When Black Panther came out, Killmonger was loved so much they had to do something with him. And if we think about that final fight scene, we don't have any true confirmation that he died. Yeah, he said what he said, but that don't mean he necessarily died. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it's a comic book movie, so even if he did die, he can still come back because that's what comic books do. That's what they specialize in. We have Red Hood because Robin died, right? Robin died. He was brought back to life with some mysterious circumstances. How many times has there been a character where they've died in the comic book and they've come back to life? I think Killmonger himself in the comic books died and came back to life. So that's just the standard. The gold standard is we can do what the hell we want to do because we writing this shit.
I mean, it is a Marvel world, right? So,
yeah. Well, I think this will go a little bit different because it's more set in the real world type of deal. So I don't think they're just gonna be killing people and just bringing them back immediately. I really don't think that's gonna happen because once you set that standard, you got to keep that going. And you got actors, you got people that's gonna age and all that. So I don't think it's gonna go quite that way. But I just think Killmonger never dies.
Well, they said that they're bringing back Robert Downey Jr. Now, we know he's going to come back in Ironheart as the AI. All right, cool. But they're having conversations about bringing him back from a parallel universe, along with the Tom Cruise version, etc. So, I think, them setting the standard of somebody coming back from the dead isn't a hard one, in the far press.
But
I don't think Robert Downey Jr.
I mean, what it could do is cheapen death. What it could do is cheapen death in the MCU. I mean, what these stories have a tendency to do is it's not, deaths aren't as emotional and impactful because these characters are going to come back one day. Like with the whole multiverse thing, Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think he has some time left in his MCU contract that was never used. So it's a possibility that his version of Quicksilver, and I even heard in some murmurs that the Evan Peters if that's the kid's name, his version of Quicksilver. His version of Quicksilver might actually make an appearance as well, since it was popular. But
that's feasible because Wanda and Quicksilver in this universe are the product of, I think, scientific experiments, whereas in the actual 616 they're mutants. So if she did bring in the universe, she might just go ahead and change her whole background and get her brother back. This is why we have Vision back in WandaVerse or WandaVision.
Well, I mean, we got to see how that plays out. But I'm gonna say this, y'all. Well, first of all, I heard Robert Downey Jr. is willing to come back, but as long as it doesn't cheapen the death of the sacrifice he made in the end game. Secondly, this is real people, y'all. These are real actors. Even if you bring a character back, you gotta do something different, or say he come from a different universe, or another person can actually play the character. You're not gonna be able to do this way the comic books did it. So there's no point in them even trying to set a standard the way the comic books did it, because these are real actors that's gonna die in real life. I mean, unfortunately, Chad with Boseman passed early, but I mean, everybody's gonna get to old age eventually.
Yeah, I think the verdict is we're excited, and this is going to be very interesting since uh, the Disney has seemingly vowed not to recast T'Challa, which I don't think I'm not in agreement with that decision. I think the character T'Challa is so great that he deserves to be fleshed out, even if it is by another actor. And there are other actors that are capable of playing T'Challa, just like they found Chadwick Boseman. They could find another actor, but I do understand why that would be such an emotional decision to make. They have a sense of family around, like according to reports. The people who are involved in the MCU do have a sense of family. And losing Chadwick was very devastating and shocking and out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But as far as the character of T'Challa, the Black Panther, I think that I think I wouldn't mind. I'm not like other fans. I wouldn't mind seeing the character recast. I think it's only right. I think the character deserves to have an epic run.
They're gonna have to bring back all these characters at one point. They're gonna have to just figure out the method. You can't have Iron Man out of the MCU for the next 30, 40 years. You can't tell me that in 2450 that they're not going to have another version of Iron Man. Yeah, I'm hearing that they're talking about Iron Heart, right? But you have to bring Iron Man back. You can't get rid of Captain America forever, right? There's too many high grossing comic book characters that they have that they can't just phase out because the old one gets old and retires. You got to keep bringing them back. So they're going to have to work on a mechanism to keep recycling these characters.
Yeah. Plus, you also have the Spider-Man situation, where I feel like that one day Sony is going to pull. They're trying to tie it in with the MCU just so they can get some of that MCU momentum, and having Tom Holland play their Spider-Man. But I have a feeling that they're going to pull away more and more from the MCU and put more and more into the Spider-Verse. So you have to keep characters that are interesting and signature as well to the MCU, because I do understand that they are trying to push like new characters like Miss Marvel. They got her in her own Disney Plus series, and according to a lot of they're trying to make her like the replacement Spider-Man. I really don't think it's gonna work. I really don't.
Hey, Kev, check that back chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think Miss Marvel is going to be a replacement Spider-Man. She'll just be brought on as an additional character. You can say she's trying to replace Spider-Man as far as how many quote unquote Avengers there are or something like that. But at the end of the day, you can't just replace characters like that. Sony gonna play with Spider-Man until we as the fans make a decision, and we ain't gonna support Sony unless they leave Spider-Man along in the MCU.
Man,
they can do their own thing.
They can end up buying Sony. Watch.
Well, I don't know, because it's only so much you can buy, because you can't have a monopoly. You know what I'm saying? There's only so many movie studios out there at this point. So
shout out to Dana White and the WWE.
No, I feel you, but my thing is this: regardless of what they do, you needed somebody. Well, this is the first decision I don't agree with Kevin Feige on, as far as the major decision to not have T'Challa back. I understand it, but I don't agree with it at all. I think that was a bad choice. I think, yeah, they can roll with Killmonger as to lead the franchise for now, but to me, it don't make no sense, and you still got to explain why T'Challa is missing. So what explanation you gonna give me about why the king is dead? You still got to explain it.
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
It was Prince Namor. What's going on, Ed?
You said what? Prince who? Namor?
Yeah, it was Namor who killed T'Challa.
I don't like that character. I don't like that character.
You don't like Namor? Why not? Because he's a rip-off Aquaman or what?
Yes, exactly. That it's just some of that shit you can get away with, like Darkseid and Thanos, but that you can't. So, but anyway, what they really should have did was they should have just brought Michael B. Jordan's character Killmonger and just said he was T'Challa in another universe. End of. That's really what they should have did. That populace very very interesting, and then that way you'd have, well, Killmonger still be dead. You don't cheapen the death, and you basically have a replacement. It just happened. So he became him, and then you move that way. Now it's hard giving, and then you just push Black Panther back so you can make that make sense. And you could do that in the Doctor Strange movie. They can do a scene that would make that make sense, or a sequence that would make that make sense. And they don't even know that he switched. It's the same person as far as they see it, because that's how multiverse shit works. That's the way you do it. But and as far that's the way you do that. As far as cheapening deaths, I mean, I tend to not get too hung up on that because the MCU is lighter than DC anyway. So people are gonna forgive that more if you do the deaths well. And deaths like that come so rare in the MCU that it's just not even done enough to even do that. And then with the multiverse stuff, I think people will let that go. But yeah, I mean, people are gonna get stupid with T'Challa, but yeah, they need to I agree, they need to flesh out the character. Because it doesn't work without Black Panther. I'm sorry. It can't be. It can be an ensemble cast, but Shuri can't carry that actress. Look, Letitia Wright is not a bad actress. She's a good actress. She can't carry a franchise like that. And women got and one thing that I know Feige knows is even with Captain Marvel, it's still more men seeing this shit than women. Women are not supporting. There is not a single comic book movie that is done well that women have supported more than men. In fact, I would argue even in the older movies like Eon Flux and all of that stuff that came out, when they were trying to get their footing before the MCU, it was more men that went to see that stuff. It's not, women are not supporting this shit like that. So it's not about the feminism aspect. They don't want it in the numbers that they should. And by the way, the women that are hardcore feminists, they're not going to see this stuff 2 or 3 times like the white boys will see it 3, 4, 5 times if they like it. And hell, you saw what happened with Black Panther. Black Panther worked because black women came to see it, but the black population came to see it, but people came to see that 2 or 3 times. That's why that did so well in America. And that didn't do as well overseas. It still broke records because outside of The Force Awakens, it hit 600 million just in the United States market. It's just not like that. White women don't operate like black women where they really come out to something that's for them. They just don't. They're not wired that way. And they know that because they see the number. So anyway.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so like I said, this one right here is going to be it's going to be interesting to say the least. But
Feige could be lying though.
Say what?
Feige could be lying though about he could be just saying we made a decision at the time and we switched it up at the last minute. Feige could be lying about replacing T'Challa. He could be very well doing what I'm saying. I don't put that past him.
Well, I mean, the franchise can carry on without T'Challa per se, as long as you got to explain why Chadwick Boseman is gone though. That still got to be explained. There ain't no getting around it. But
Killmonger can lead the franchise. I think he could, and I think they know that. But Shuri, keep in mind they only need to do 2 more movies, but you're not going to make the same. Michael B. Jordan was arguably more popular than Chadwick Boseman. So if they do it right, it can be like a Fast and Furious 7 situation. And you saw how the people rewarded, I think it was Justin Lin for sticking that landing with Paul Walker's death, how they did it. And they rewarded that by giving them almost $1.4 billion in the box office. So if they do it right, and obviously I'm not saying I care about the money. I'm just saying that history has shown that if you do this right, and authentic, financially, people will support you. But if you use this as like an opportunity, like to throw women in, yeah, that's gonna be a problem. That's gonna because women were very prominent in Black Panther in the first place. Sure gives Shuri more of a role, and I think you bring, but definitely Chadwick Boseman. I mean, yeah, you got to explain it, but like I said, the way you don't explain it is what I just said with the multiverse theory thing. But
Well, okay. I think that the overall verdict for all of us, you would say this is more good news, correct?
yeah, the Killmonger situation is great news. I'm a lot more confident in the movie now because this crap with Shuri and stuff, I like that character, but to sit there and turn it into the female show, I like all of the female characters. I like all of the female characters in Black Panther. I think all of them. I think and I think they can get bigger roles. I think they should. I think
but the way they were incorporated, though, the roles were big enough. I mean, they were very prominent. Like Okoye is the general of the Wakandan army, the general. Let me see. Nakia, Lupita Nyong'o's character. She was a she was an espionage. She was like an agent or something, badass agent or something like that, wasn't she?
Well, it comes down to like screen time, so that's another thing from the actress standpoint. But these characters, you're right, they're fleshed up enough to where you can kind of litter them in on their own thing. And I'm gonna keep it real with you. They would like Lupita Nyong'o if they did like a Disney series with her. That could probably work, especially when you look at the type of subscribership you would be targeting with the show like that if you did it right. And obviously, I mean, Lupita Nyong'o ain't never doing nothing anyway other than the work that Disney gives them. I mean, she don't really be in shit like that other than like what Jordan Peele put her in. So, you know, it's a lot of stuff you could do. But when I say bigger roles, I'm not talking about all of them. I'm talking about like if they give Shuri and stuff like that, or you know, it depends. But at the end of the day, what made that shit pop? If you ask the women what they liked about the movie, they liked the female representation, but Black women talk more about Killmonger than hell, even T'Challa. Is that, y'all disagree with that?
Well, they did. It been positive and negative ways. You know, that the negative part was, you know, they was like Killmonger was toxic, and you know the positive, you know, Killmonger.
That's true. That's true. But the truth is, they wanted to fuck Killmonger. Let's just keep it real. Even that's why that toxic stuff. You had some of the feminine, the people saying that, but most Black women said, "Nah, he gets the pass," because a lot of them like that shit. They like that energy, that beady energy. That he came with, because that's what I heard a lot. And even the way he grabbed that chick, they liked that too. It was like kind of like an R. Kelly situation where we know what it is, but overall I like it. Shut up. He gets a. I mean, you can't look at how much numbers that movie did with Black people and not believe it. And then when it came to the female representation, it was like that's as good as it gets. So it kind of like that was like one of the little things, but that got drowned out. Like I remember the memes, they like that shit overall. So my point is, and again, you look at what that did for his career, because Creed kind of set it up, and then Killmonger kind of like dunked it, and then you saw like the most sexiest man alive in the that article and stuff and all of that.
Yeah, plus Killmonger's character was ultra political, and it touched an emotion inside especially American Western blacks with everything that he had stood for in the first film. So I really wish there was a really good, efficient way to incorporate that. So is there anything else to say on this before we move to the next topic, fellas?
Well, I'm just gonna say that the female representation part was fine. When it comes down to it, female representation don't matter as long as it's written well, which we could see from. I mean, COVID kind of stopped the second Wonder Woman, But if you see from the first Wonder Woman and the first Captain Marvel female-led movies, if the movie good, the movie good. At the end of the day, people gonna go see it. They gonna still do numbers
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
So my thing is
I'm
just
saying that because you got
don't mess up the
I'm saying
movie
that
trying. Well, yeah, I'm just saying they should. That long as they don't mess up a movie trying to do too much female inclusion. Give me a good movie. That should be top priority. Period.
Yeah, obviously, I agree with that. It's just the type of writers and the type of people you talking to, so you got to speak from that perspective. Like they know, give a good movie, period, but you know what they on. So it's almost like working with the range of what they're. You can either push completely back against what they're doing, in which they've demonstrated they'll tank a movie just to make a point, or you work within how at least that franchise wants to work based on the direction that they're going to basically create a good movie, but also saying this is why you should do this, and even in the reasons you have, this is why this makes sense to do this way. Versus just saying make a good movie. They all know how to make a good movie when they want to. Hollywood has proven that when they want to make a movie that makes money, they always know how to do it.
Facts.
Yeah, Afro Nuts. Elongo Savage, Afro Nuts down there tripping, but he said the buried Killmonger in the ocean. He got rescued by Black Menace. They were doing like a Marvel versus DC, but Elongo Savage, he said just didn't care the way they made the Dora Milaje look like Wakanda's whole military when they're just the king's bodyguards.
Yeah, that was silly.
Yeah, but that was that. But that was probably that kind of message that that we kind of feared they pushed, like caring more about checking off boxes than to actually write a great story. I'm with Roger. I don't care what they do with the films. It just got to be a great film with a great story and great action. It's a comic book movie. Like, stop trying. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I would say, no, I agree too. I'd say that what they would say to that, they say in Endgame, you saw what the army was about with M'Baku. And that tribe was more of the army. You had the border tribe, you had the other tribe. So they all shared it. And so it may have looked like that in the movie because obviously you're paying attention to the royal family. So it would look more like that. But the truth is, if they ever actually had to go to war, it would be, you would see more men. That's the little slick answer when what they would say with that, and that's why it looked that way. But it is the check boxes. They wanted to show more because they wanted to show more women. But I definitely understand that criticism, and like I said, I go back to the numbers. Women are not supporting these women-driven movies. Men are still supporting these movies more. So even when the men complain on the greater social geek community, it's still they're coming out more than the women. So you're not, it's almost like the WNBA kind of syndrome. You're not getting women making up for that, even though women have every reason to want to see movies. You're not getting the let's go do a girls' night out and go to see these movies. These women are seeing these movies in conjunction with a man. And I think that's what they're trying to tap into, is they're trying to tap into, let's do a girls' night out. Even the women online in these geekdom communities, men are their base. Like if you look at channels that are like Sniper Wolf, which is like 24 million, men are their base. Men, they have the gravity and orbit still rotates around men. They make stuff that kind of juxtapose itself against what the men are doing in the space. So again, women, it's more like now women want to be in a cool kids club, and men it was set. Now geekdom stuff is something that they set as a cool kids club. Like women wouldn't have gave a crap about geekdom stuff back when it wasn't popular. And then when it comes to female characters have always been a part of this space. It's the dudes have never been like anti-female as far as seeing women. Black men say all the time we want to see a Black Panther 3 with Storm.
Yeah, but the issue was actually just getting the characters under contract in the first place. So that was quite the debacle for some time. But they've gotten that together since the acquisition of Fox. But let's go ahead and flip it. I don't
want that Storm though. I don't want that story. No, they need to recast.
Yeah, well, yeah. They're probably gonna likely recast. I also heard a room. Well, I don't listen to dirt sheet articles too much, but Spider-Man has oodles of news pouring out of it. From what I hear, Charlie Cross Daredevil is on board. Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, they've been on board. And a lot of the old villains from the Sam Raimi one, but that's probably going to be another broadcast. But all right, guys, anything else about Killmonger before we move to this Mortal Kombat 2021?
Mortal Kombat, because I got some notes.
Can't wait to see it.
Okay, all right. So now here we go. Now here pictured is I think the Liu Kang actor's name is Lundy Liu. I don't know I'll look up the other guy's name here in a minute, but this is clearly Liu Kang and Kung Lao.
Yeah. Are the actors martial artists?
I think Lundy Liu is, the guy playing Kung Lao, he's trained.
Okay.
He's like a gymnast or something like that. Some martial arts training.
Right.
Lundy Liu was one of the Power Rangers in the newer Power Ranger movie.
Okay. So you got skills.
Yeah, so and the fight choreography, I've watched some of the, behind the scenes fight choreography, and it seems like that is leaps and bounds better than, Robin Shue and Christopher Lambert and Lyndon Ashby, those guys. Yeah, one thing that the directors and the people behind the scene did say about this particular film is that they will try to stay more true to the story of the original game. But here's the thing. Let me see if I can find that photo. If they wanted to do that, why add an original character?
Who's that?
This is Louis Tan. He was Shatterstar in Deadpool 2. He didn't last very long, spoiler warning. But he's an original character by the name of Cole. He's an MMA fighter. And listen to this. Shang Tsung wants to consume his soul. Because now this is what's been reported. Because he was born with a birthmark that is the shape of the Mortal Kombat dragon symbol.
You are shitting me.
Now
You lying.
It's James Wan doing. James, here's the thing. I'm gonna keep it real with you.
Damn.
There's nothing about this movie I like, other than the fact that James Wan's a part of it. Like, I just the way that what's coming out and how it's coming, I just don't even. If James Wan wasn't a part of it, I would assume that they're just being lazy about how they're putting the movie together. But James Wan is a producer, he's a director, he knows what he's doing. So it's almost like I gotta give him benefit of doubt until it gets put through. But I don't like the actors that they're putting. I'll say this, just so people can understand where I'm coming from. The thing about Mortal Kombat that you got to get right is you got to get the fighting choreography right. Like, that has to sell the movie, and then you got to get people invested in the fights that actually happen. Meaning, you have to sell the story. The cartoon actually did a pretty good job of doing that.
You got to get the iconography. You got to also get the iconography of the characters, right?
Right.
Like, not adding original. I really have a problem with them adding an original character.
So this nigga's mocap then, right? We're looking at mocap.
You have so many characters to choose from. Shoot, Louis Tan could have been Johnny Cage.
Yeah.
Like, he has that cheese dick look on his face. Like, he looks like he can pull off that little cocky, superstar. If you saw him in Shatterstar in Deadpool 2, that's all he was some kind of conceited, all full of himself alien guy. But, he didn't last very long in that movie, spoiler warning. I was thinking that maybe he was leaning toward Johnny Cage. Why put an original character in here, though? Why do that?
Okay. I mean, it depends. I mean, I'm not going to not see the movie over, and it's somebody that plays. I play Mortal Kombat every day as far as MK11. So I mean that doesn't bother. It depends on if he's the main character, and it's like it could be from a perspective character. I would not like that. I prefer they not do a main character, but at the same time, they got to do something that separates them from doing like the same thing that we've seen over and over again. And then you got to present this movie to a mainstream audience because the MK community is large, but it's not large enough to kind of sustain a movie on its own like that. So it is what it is. I mean, like I said, if it would have been any other director other than James Wan, I'd be more worried about it. But he knew this was a hard thing to take on. He knew this is not like an easy thing. So if he decided to take it on when he could have chose anything he wanted to do, because at this point he's getting movies produced through him through other directors. We'll see. He's giving me the benefit out to see it. But like I said, you got to get those two things right. And I don't see how you really get that right in the length of one movie, because a lot of this stuff has to be built up. This should have been like more of a series. This should have been like a fucking not Disney Plus series, but a Netflix, not a Netflix. I mean, you get what I'm saying, like an Amazon Prime thing or something like that, where you do this over like 10 episodes.
Yeah, like Mortal Kombat Legacy Season 2. I was discussing this with Rogish on the channel the other night, on my channel. And we were like, because he agreed with me. I mean, he can correct me because that Mortal Kombat Legacy Season 2 was the best live action Mortal Kombat out of all of it.
That's right.
Yeah. And if they come somewhere close, like the guy who directed that, and the guy who did the fight choreography for that was originally supposed to do this film. Originally. But egos and back office stuff, they ended up separating from the film, so they went with these guys. And I think that Lawrence Kasanoff is somehow involved with this film too. If you don't know who Lawrence Kasanoff is, he's the guy that did the first two films. They the first Mortal Kombat, and then that dumpster fire known as Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Like Annihilation was horrible.
Ray,
and it killed any possibility.
Listen to me. Who the fuck was that out there playing Shao Kahn, cuz?
But as far as the look of the characters, I don't have any problems with the way, they did Liu Kang and Kung Lao. I mean, I would rather Liu Kang be like a signature main guy, just like he's always been. Hopefully they don't deadly alliance him just yet.
Wow, look Mexican.
Yep, there you go. Let's look at this first. Now, see, this is what happened. Here's what the buzz happened. Like, it's like as soon as the photos were released, Mehcad Brooks is the actor who depicts Jax. And for anyone who doesn't know Mehcad Brooks, he played Jimmy Olsen in the Supergirl WB series. It was CBS, and then it eventually joined the Arrowverse.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I mean, I don't see him as Jax though. Like, he's not big enough. I mean, the thing about it is Jax is a military guy, and it's like I said, this would have been so much better doing this as like a 10 episode 1 hour series, because I think I get it. It would have just worked out better. I think I would ask somebody how much money. I would ask somebody in a movie, how much money do you really expect to make in a Mortal Kombat movie today? Because what they're going to do is they're going to lean on the special effects, which is something that's going to be a way to get around the fighting choreography a lot. So I don't even like. Oh, that's one thing I liked about the first one. They didn't do as much special effects.
Kyra, get your ass out the sky.
Fire!
Oh, yo, that fucking was shining soul.
But my thing is, based on what we see, they're not ready to invest in a certain level of actor. You know what I mean? To be taken in a more serious standpoint.
Which is why you do it a TV show.
Well, I mean, and I know that when Marvel started, because to me that they're the standard at this point. That their whole thing was getting the right actors to come in, so the movie would have a certain level of a certain level of respect. I would say, right out the gate. And I'm not saying you never go for the unknown, but you got to have somebody with a name at some point to be involved in this. I think that would be a good thing to do.
All right, now this right here is Josh Lawson. Anybody seen Anchorman 2? He was in that film. He's playing Kano. Now here's what is going to be interesting to me. How does Kano not start out with the cybernetic eye?
Thank you.
But Jack starts out with cybernetic arms.
Oh,
and you know what? You know what? Real quick, when you gotta say what film the guy was in, we are that's it right there. That they ain't put the money they need to put into the actor. I mean, you gotta give me at least one of them.
Because the thing is, man, you could do this less expensive. You can get more out of the actors as far as doing it like a net. Because the thing about doing things like with a web series now is the way the payment structure is. It's a little bit now. You can't get away with this with named actors, but like with unknowns, you don't got to pay them per episode like that. You can do it more like a lot. So it's ways to do that. And the thing about it is, this is a type of show. Movie that like the fighting choreography actually can save you. It's not that many special effects that you really need. You can really just have like 2 really special effects heavy like sequences throughout the whole 10 episodes. You're going to get the community around it. Like you do that first, then once you build it up, you can kind of make it a movie.
But you need a story to tell it. Obviously, they ain't finna
exactly.
And that's where Kano ain't got no cybernetic shit, cuz.
But here's the thing. With a web series, you can do a kind of like a back a back in which you learn like how Sonya, because that's what I liked about the cartoon, the recent cartoon that came out, is you saw the origin of kind of the relationship between Sonya and Jax, because it always seems like that Jax is kind of like kissing Sonya's ass. That you don't really get the feeling that he outranks her. Right. And why does he respect her and all of that? And how was she like before? And you see what I'm saying? You get that, so it makes a little bit more sense. And that's I'm like flipping on my words. That's the type of shit you can do with a 10 episode 1 hour series. And then a lot of the fans of the franchise are gonna appreciate that because you give them insight in a live action that they not get before, and it gives you a way to kind of soft market this stuff to build it up to the point where you can make a movie.
That's true.
Yeah, but I'll push back on that just a little bit. Now, I mean, I understand. Like, I am a huge fan of Mortal Kombat, and I'm like Edward. I would like to see this fleshed out into a series. Like, if they had somehow made Mortal Kombat Legacy a full series with that premise, it would have been awesome. But here's what I'm going to push back on. Mortal Kombat has been out since 1991. So the legend of Mortal Kombat has had more than enough time to establish itself. And there's tons of source material to pull from. That's what I kind of hate about certain franchises that has other source material. And I'll give you an example. Another James Wan film, Dragon Ball Evolution. Now, when I heard James Bond was on this one, I kind of felt differently from you guys. Like, he's since then done the Fast and Furious films, and I think he's pretty much redeemed himself and made people forget that he was the guy behind that dumpster fire. Right. But it's just like my fear of the film itself, besides me being a huge fan of Mortal Kombat, and a lot of the stuff looks good, is them changing a lot of the story elements. Like, first of all, this you see this visual up here. This is obviously Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Joe Taslim from The Raid, and this is probably the 2 best castings also. Shang Tsung might be a good casting too. And Raiden. But I think this might be the 2 best one. See, Joe Taslim is from The Raid. I watched The Raid. That movie did not slow down. Did not slow down. And This guy right here, he was like he was in Logan. No, not Logan. The Wolverine, the second film. My problem with the actor that plays Scorpion, I think he just, to me, looks a little old to be Scorpion. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
I see problems. Period. Because I'm gonna tell you like this: when you have these type of films, you need to pull in everybody. You know what I'm saying? You it's great to pull in the people who play Mortal Kombat on a regular basis, but you need to pull some other people in too.
Yeah,
and
you got to.
You could have sprinkled like maybe Jet Li in there. You know what I'm saying? You could have. It's a couple other names you could have threw in there at some spots, and you don't want to make a whole Mortal Kombat movie. They would have been better off because Mortal Kombat has too many characters. They should have center a movie around a particular character. Sure, have some other people make a little spot in the movie or cameo or whatever the case is, but you don't really have to have them really in the film. You make it about one particular person, okay, or maybe about 2 or 3 particular people, and you let something happen and just leave other stuff for the movie. You know what I'm saying? But everybody don't have to be in every film.
A lot of videos, this like going back to the Dragon Ball Z Evolutions, that's impossible to make a movie. Period. So that's always going to be trash. I'm going to argue that's always going to be trash. Avatar is possible, but it's extremely difficult for the money you really want to spend. But again, the web series, like these online TV shows, where the market is now and where the technology is now, it's a lot different than where it was, even like 2-3 years ago. So now, and then the monetization of these, because at the end of the day, you're doing this to get subscribership. So if you're like, okay, here's a market where it's a big market, but it's a niche market, you can actually get more money, like bang for buck, actually getting these guys to subscribe to your package based on you having a good series than you can a movie. Because what's going to happen is it's going to be a movie, and then it's going to be it's going to suck. And then if it sucks, then they going to say, okay, we never doing this again because it sucks. That's pretty much what's going to happen. And this movie, quite frankly, if they were smart, if you're a web series, would do a very good job to where, hey, you launch a Mortal Kombat movie, and while Mortal Kombat is kind of starting to die down, like Mortal Kombat 11, like it's starting to die down, so they use DLCs and stuff to keep it up. You do this kind of like in the middle of its lifespan, launch a series, and then you can kind of do that piggy back and forth to always keep it kind of in the lexicon, because you got YouTubers, competitors and stuff like that do content, and you keep it going like on its own. So I don't think Mortal Kombat. I like both of the movies. 2 is so bad it's good, but I like 1 more. But the truth is, like, Mortal Kombat is not meant to be a movie, man. It's not in the public lexicon enough to get the marketing revved up to do that. I'm talking about the general audience that Roger's talking about. You would do better doing doing like a series for 3 to 4 seasons, and then you recast everybody and make an actual movie, because it doesn't look like they're putting money in this movie like they need to be. You can see that in the actors. You can see it. I mean, this shit doesn't look that much better quality wise than Legacy.
What I'm saying is you could have made it a cinematic series. You could start to Mortal Kombat got so much. Yeah, they got so much to draw from. So why not just do a movie simply about Sub-Zero and Scorpion, and then you have sprinkles of other stuff in there. Your next movie could be, you know what I'm saying, with a slight continuation of their story, or they could just be a whole different part. But you know what I'm saying, people.
That's much harder. It's much harder. It's much harder to do that in a movie. You have to do that in a series. That's where you can do the Sub-Zero thing as an arc, and then switch the arcs up, and then they come together at the end. That's why you do it that way, because what it takes to rev up a movie and rev it down, and the money you need to make, and then the compromises you're gonna have to make on something like that to be it profitable. Works much better with a web series, especially when you're looking at the type of actors that they're putting in. And then you could make like a headline actor, like maybe Shang Tsung is like a known person or something like that can bring people in. It's so much. I mean, you see it with The Boys, you see it with The Expanse on Amazon. You just see it with so many shows now it's harder to do that with a movie than with a TV series. That's why you don't typically see that done.
But you know what though? You know what the first film got right? Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa he iconized Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung.
Yep.
Yeah. Your soul is mine.
Hey,
That's why they
how
got
many
him in the
times?
game.
How many times have you said that playing Mortal Kombat and saying Shang Tsung throughout the years? Your soul is mine. Like he was the best casting choice of that film.
Yeah.
Of that particular film. Christopher Lambert, no. Robin Shue, afraid not. Talisa Soto, no. Lyndon Ashby, no.
Who played Johnny? Johnny was good.
Lyndon Ashby. Like he was better, but yeah.
Hold up. That shit. The fight between him and Scorpion was iconic, though. It wasn't the best fight.
The fight between him and I'll take that back. The second,
the way it works in the movie, because like I get the fan stuff too, but in the movie, like the stuff, like all of the characters for the most part, you could have did if you would have did a 2 with them. Like one of the biggest mistakes they did was killing off Johnny Cage in the beginning. That was a mistake. Replacing Sonya was a mistake.
What they did, Lyndon Ashby knew right offhand they were just trying to rush that film out because they promised a second film. Lyndon Ashby knew it wasn't going to work because he hadn't committed to it. Bridget Wilson hadn't committed to it, and they changed the actors. He's like, "How are you going to do a second Mortal Kombat without Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade? How are you going to do that?"
Well, yeah, and then Mortal Kombat was like in a different situation back then because remember it was the 90s, so even like the lore has changed, but like the thing about it now is you're starting to get into like conversations of like franchise management because one thing about Star Wars is that's proven is a franchise. You can break any franchise, and when you're looking at like investors and shareholders, to remember Mortal Kombat is owned by DC, which is or a Warner. And who knows? I forget what the hierarchy of Warner is. Warner is higher than DC, and Warner Media is owned by AT&T now. So you got them trying to create their own, HBO Max, Netflix, their own online channel. And it's all the name of the game is subscribership. Like Disney is way ahead, and actually AT&T is the worst. HBO Max is actually the worst. So you need to do things in a way that's going to get people paying for a subscription, and these franchises that have nostalgia are ways to do that, to get those subscriptions consistent, like headline things. This is why they're going to do a new Avatar, because they're realizing in the business model that makes sense more. So actually what these fans work more than that. And another thing is you see what happened with Star Wars where the franchise got broke because they wanted to do what they want to do. Like real talk, and I'm not trying to switch the topic up, but The Last Jedi, as much as they got wrong, had they got Luke Skywalker right, they would have forgave a lot of that. Like just like how they did that hallway scene, that 2-3 minute hallway scene in Rogue One, they would have forgave a lot of that if you just gave Luke Skywalker his due. But they just could not do that. They could not say, okay, let Skywalker have his due and then let the rise of Skywalker be Rey's actual movie. They just couldn't do that. And then you see the penalties they're paying for right now, where they're kind of turning the ship around a little bit, but it's still not the kind of money it could have been. So this Mortal Kombat is clearly another thing where they're not taking franchise management seriously. They're just not.
Well, like I'm saying, I believe cinematic series can work nowadays because it's not like it's something that's a mystery. It's proven now by the MCU. DC is now doing it with the the characters from Warner Brothers is now doing it with DC. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, you talking about cinematic movies?
Was a cinematic series. Because if you think about, that's what Marvel is. It's a cinematic.
Are you talking about WandaVision? Are you talking about like DC Disney Plus?
I'm saying take television out of it. Before the MCU the MCU is just now finna start adding TV shows. They technically did it with. Marvel just not finna add a TV show, but they technically did it with other branches of Marvel. Yeah. What I'm saying, with the fact that you have all those years before those TV shows even done, is a cinematic series is a proven thing at this point. If you treated them properly, they'd be fine. Because there's a lot you can do with
possible. It's possible, but only MCU has really gotten it right. Right, MCU, the Fast and the Furious, and they come back to same things. The Mortal Kombat is not built as a franchise. It's just not built to do that and make a lot of money. It's just not, because the reason MCU can do what it's the reasons they can do what they can do. And if you remember the origin of that kind of just came together. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I'm saying it's gonna be smarter doing this as a web series, like on a Amazon Prime, than it is doing it as a movie, because they're gonna do one movie and then it's going to not be good, and they're not gonna invest in another one. That's just how that's gonna, or it's not gonna make. I mean, shit, they tried to do that. What's that robot movie with all them big robots and kaiju?
But that's why I say you need to. But that's what I'm saying. That's why I say take out some of it. Don't make a whole Mortal Kombat movie. Center around a character or two, and then let their universe expand from there instead of trying to make the whole thing work. You're working with too much. Sometimes you gotta scale back to get the big crowd.
Agreed.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Also, fellas, y'all said that a big name actor would have just to draw some people in from the movie audience itself. So take a look at that. You say Steve Harvey and Jax would have drew these people?
Man, look. Oh God, I got a question. Did he look like Steve Harvey when he was doing the Supergirl shit? Or
no, he didn't. No, he never had a mustache.
No mustache, and they had hair. He bald headed though, huh?
Yeah, he was always bald headed. Yeah.
Ain't that a bitch? That nigga got a mustache and look like Steve Harvey. That's crazy.
And that's the difference between a big name actor versus a big name person, right there.
Tony, get your ass over here and help me with Shao Kahn.
These are the keep in mind, these are the pictures they chose to release too, by the way. This isn't like something that just got leaked out. So I'm not. This is a movie I'm gonna see it, but I'm be honest, I'm not looking forward to this. Maybe it'll surprise me. I'll be pleasantly surprised, but not.
Bro, this look like clips from a bad mini series off a local station. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It does.
It does.
Okay.
And there's a higher standard for this stuff now. People can say what they want to about Watchmen, the Watchmen series on HBO, but there's just a higher standard of seriousness for this stuff now. It just is, man. And even on Hulu, when you got Cloak and Dagger and stuff, there's a higher seriousness. And this stuff, people it's not, you're just pissing money away. I'd say you do better. Again, there's different ways of doing this now, and obviously they can't switch up now because it was a different thing when they were first doing it. But they have not gotten video from game franchise. That's another thing you have to understand. This is a video game franchise. Right. They have not gotten video game franchises right yet. They have not. Just like how Marvel is not known for their video games. Spider-Man doesn't count. That's like its own thing now. But like you look at like Marvel first games, they're not known to be great at that. They're not even, their cartoons are not known to be great. That's one thing DC does beat Marvel. And so when you look at video game franchises, they have yet to make a video game franchise work yet. So a video game movie work like that yet. So you got to add that in there too.
That's the whole point of they got to scale back. If they could have opened up the Mortal Kombat world, they could have started with Johnny Cage and opened up the entire world based on him in the beginning as the only person, because that's the closest semblance to regular everyday life. And then he go off and discover, or they make it come about however they do it, and then you open up the whole world of the franchise, but you started off through just him. They could have did that. You see what I'm saying? That can be done nowadays.
I mean, I understand that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that's wrong. I mean, that's a possibility, but that usually does. I mean, that's how X-Men did it through the eyes of Wolverine. But stuff like that's. I mean, I get what you're saying. It could work, But I'm saying that's the more likely outcome is going to be them doing. They need more time than an hour and a half or 2 hours. They just need more. Then when you got to get the fighting sequences in, they just need more time for something like this. They just do. I mean, you got 2 hours to make this work, and they've already done a test run with the cartoon, and the cartoon was not bad. It had its flaws, but like the way they did Liu Kang, in fact, Roger, they did the same. That's what they did with the cartoon. They did it through Scorpion's perspective. They did that exact thing with the cartoon. That's why they made it about Scorpion, and that worked a lot more. But when you understand the live action medium, when it comes to fighting games, there is a reason why they don't adapt fighting games like that. When you look at Tekken, even fighting games like King of Fighters and stuff, because again, when you're going to see a movie, you're going to see a story, and you got to be able to set it up right. And I don't think they have enough time to do this. And we're not really in the market where fighting on its own is really going to sell a movie. The Kung Fu stuff, that was ages gone by. That alone doesn't sell movies in the numbers that they're looking for. That's not going to sell them, get you 300, 400, 500 million dollars.
Yeah, well, all I'm saying is you didn't have to bring if you do it from one person's perspective, you don't need to bring the whole Mortal Kombat into it. You can bring maybe 2-3 other characters, leave it at that, and then scale out from there as more movies are dropped. You know what I'm saying? It will be a delight to the fans when they see that other person that they haven't already seen.
All right, Roger. So who would you think who should be that character? I'm curious. Let's go that route for the sake of making this an interesting conversation. Which character you think they should start with? Because the cartoon did Scorpion, and Scorpion is actually in my opinion, Scorpion is the most popular Mortal Kombat character right now.
Yeah.
Liu Kang is actually. I wouldn't even argue Liu Kang is in. I would argue he may be in the top 5, but
Scorpion.
I'd argue top 5.
The story was meant for Liu Kang to be the champion of Mortal Kombat, and throughout recent years, they've kind of gotten away from that. Especially, let me put it to y'all like this: like with the 5th installment of the game Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, where they killed off Liu Kang and he wasn't even a playable character, and with Mortal Kombat Legacy Season 2 exploring Liu Kang as an antagonist. So like this franchise, I probably would say would probably go in a different direction with Liu Kang not being like the main protagonist, but probably on the pathway to that tragic pathway that was outlined in the game itself, having to die, or maybe they go the legacy route and turn them evil.
Well, I mean, I like how I would love if they did it like 11 to where Liu Kang became kind of the new Raiden. And then it was like when he was like Fire God Liu Kang, to kind of give respect to that character, because Liu Kang is popular, but the thing about it is Luke, just like how Luke Skywalker is very, very popular. There's other characters that are popular, and at different times they take popularity. Like Melina right now, I'd argue the 2 most popular characters in Mortal Kombat right now. I would say Melina's in the top. I would say Melina's more popular than Katana. Like, so you have to then look at who's popular, who makes sense for the story. So I'm not saying there's a right character or wrong character. Like Johnny Cage would not necessarily be the wrong, because I'm talking about from a perspective character, because that would really be the main point of doing this. Who's the character in which you want to see things through their perspective? And I think Johnny Cage kind of marks more the audience's eyes more than anything, than anybody else. I'm not saying he has to be the main character, but I'm saying, because see, everybody's mad about the original character. Well, they're doing that to be a perspective character. So I'm saying you make that Johnny Cage, and also Johnny Cage is going to be the dude that most likely you can actually get a mainstream actor to actually play, in America. Because let's be clear, making Asian actors, that's not going to work. That's just not going to work. So you're going to have to get a mainstream actor that's American that can kind of anchor the franchise. And then I was going to, but there's other people, Scorpion, Liu Kang, you can do it from his perspective, but,
You know what though? There is a rumor that Johnny Cage the role of Johnny Cage in the film has been kept hush hush. So that may be a big surprise as to how they go about that. Maybe it is a big name actor that's going to bring everyone in.
Bro, ain't no
Because I
big
like
name
Johnny Cage,
actor
the way they
attached to
did
this.
his shadow powers. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying there is no big name actor attached to this. With this little stuff that they showing right now, when
Yeah,
when an actor does a movie, they put themselves on the line.
But here's the thing, Roger. They have it has been reported that Johnny Cage is a big secret.
Oh, I
It
get
had,
he's a secret, but
yeah.
being a secret don't mean it's gonna be a big name actor. That's all I'm saying.
Well. That is true also. But why keep something like that a secret? I
Well,
mean,
the thing so far, the stills don't look interesting. That's the scary part.
no, they
So,
don't.
so a big name actor or not, it's resonating as subpar.
yeah. And you know what? You might be right about that because if they were truly confident in this film, so close to its release, they would release a trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
and especially with COVID,
Right.
they're gonna probably charge it to COVID, say it didn't work. And my thing is, like, honestly, with Mortal Kombat, it's like if you're gonna do live action, make it a web series. Other than that, you might as well make cartoons and do them in the middle of the runs of the NetherRealm games to keep it fleshed out. Because the cartoons are you're just gonna get more bang for the buck. They're less
Right.
expensive to produce and I do think the market is big enough, and Mortal Kombat has a big enough general market that you can kind of make that work. And like I said, it comes back down to franchise management because there's a lot of games that you can make movies. Like Assassin's Creed tried to do it, didn't work, but it should have been able to work. Halo, there's like Mass Effect. I mean, Expanse was a people. I don't know if y'all know what the Expanse is. I talk about it a lot. It's on Amazon Prime. That was originally supposed to be a video game, and for some reason, it didn't manifest that way. They couldn't get the money, so they did the books, and the books were really, really successful, and they just decided to make it a TV series. But that was supposed to be an MMO game. That's why it's kind of built the way that it is with factions and stuff like that.
Right.
So people like I didn't know that until I looked at some of the people that they really cover the Expanse. So I mean that it can be done well. It's just you have to look at how does this franchise make money. I mean, Resident Evil is a perfect example of that. I like the Resident Evil, as cheesy as they are. I like those movies, but let's be clear here. You could do those. Could you imagine if James Wan got a hold of a Resident Evil movie and you do it from a horror perspective, knowing how much horror makes money, and then do horror and action? If you redid it, so some of these franchises that's going to be the next big thing once superhero movies kind of start to fall back. Is they're going to start to kind of reinvest in some of these video game franchises when they start to switch more into sci-fi and stuff like that. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, when they did that, like that little run, like with the House of the Dead and everything, but hopefully it won't be anything like that. Hopefully it'll be a little better, and people direct these things like they got their head on straight. But it's about that time. Yes, this is a pretty good discussion. Final thoughts, gentlemen, before we try to escape this black dimension.
Well, I'm looking forward to
trying
see if Killmonger gonna be in that joint. I don't know. So the thing is, it would be a good box office draw. They pull in some good money. Probably 2 or 3 after that. Mortal Kombat, it still don't look interesting. I'm sorry. I didn't even know that was Scorpion Sub-Zero until I really, really looked at the cloth and like, oh yeah, blue and yellow and shit. So you know what I'm saying? It's we'll see what it do. I always wait till like 4 weeks after a movie's out, and then I will see them up.
And I wonder which Sub-Zero that is. Is that B-Hun or is that Kwai Yang? Because if that's B-Hun, he's headed for a bad fate.
Yep. It looks like Kwai Yang. As far as my final thoughts on the Mortal Kombat stuff, I mean, there's just so many things it's been explored, but not really been explored. Like you got Scorpion and the Shirai Ryu. You've got obviously Bi-Han, a Bi-Han story even before like the Mortal Kombat series, like and then you just got so many things that you can explore. When it like that a web series could do it. I still stand on that. As far as the Killmonger thing, I have much more confidence in Black. I'll just see Black Panther regardless. I'm a movie god, so a lot of these movies I'm gonna see it regardless. But I got much more confidence with Michael B. Jordan. I just think there's multiple ways they can do it. I think he can headline the franchise, and it's tragic what happened to Chadwick Boseman. It is, but and they do need to be very careful about how they respect his character. But I think too that they're lucky they had somebody like Michael B. Jordan, because that's kind of like the easy answer. Because it would have been a lot harder had they not had that. Because technically, with him, he's been in the franchise. People wanted him back anyway, so it's not like they're like injecting something that people don't want, and there is no market that does not want him back. By the way, so yeah, as far as these discussions, yeah, I definitely want to be a part of these discussions more. Because I do want to get into these types of talks. Like, this is a part of that expansion that I'm talking about. I think there is a market for like Black men when it comes to talking about this stuff. I think we have a unique perspective on these movies, and I'll make sure I share this stuff in the Telegram and make sure I promote this stuff in the audience, because sometimes people are just tired of talking about sisters. And this, what the fuck? Like, what, this football game, man? I'm watching this shit. Wow, man. Like,
who that is?
Mahomes is Buffalo might go to the Super Bowl, yo.
Who they playing?
If Mahomes is out with a concussion. Anyway, that's another topic for another day. Anyway, so that's my thoughts.
Okay, all right. Roger, Donnie, Rogish.
All right, there, man.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna say they didn't make me excited to come see Mortal Kombat. Not with what I'm getting, so I'm not excited about it. It is what it is. I'll get to it when I get to it, because that's how they present it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I haven't seen a video game movie that's been phenomenal and forever. So I don't expect much. I just hope it's not super cheesy. It's just something that I can enjoy.
Yeah. Now, truth be told, I'm gonna watch it for the purpose of the show. But if it wasn't for the show, I'd be like, I'll get to it when I get to it.
I just read your name, Donnie Thoughtmonger, cuz. That's hilarious.
Well, okay. Well, I guess I'll close the show with this. It's going to be interesting, especially pay closest attention to WandaVision, as it's already started on Disney Plus. Then how it's going to impact the MCU also when they come out with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That's also going to have a true impact on the MCU itself, and through that you might see the return of a stronger, more ruler like Killmonger, which I think would be very interesting. As far as Mortal Kombat is concerned, like all 2020 movies by Warner Brothers, all of them will be released on HBO Max. They're part of that run, because who knows when we're going to get out of this pandemic. And being a fan of the video game ever since its inception, ever since its beginning, I can't say I'm on pins and needles looking forward to seeing it, because I fear, like a lot of things have happened. I mean, a lot of these little franchises and these remakes, and it's coming out in 2021. I think they're more worried about certain things rather than just coming up with a great film. But we could be wrong. So definitely, when the Mortal Kombat film is released for everyone's viewing entertainment, we will definitely do a review on the film, and hopefully the review of the film is much more fun and much more better for us than what we're anticipating. So anyway, all right, I say this is about it. Thank you to our esteemed panelists, Rogish Sun, Roger, and Thoughtmonger Donnie. This is this is Shao Kev. Yeah, and no, Steve Harvey is not in the new Mortal Kombat film. So Hit it one more time,
Tell
Roach.
Pop I want to get in here. Help me out with Shang.
How that nigga that country? He from Cleveland, cuz. Is that country in Cleveland? That nigga from Hey, yo, shout out to Godfrey. I'm still that nigga impression.
Okay.
All right. No ask me. Close.
Well, anyway, this is going to wrap it up for now. Yes, this is Killmonger Returns and Mortal Kombat 2021 photos have been released, and this has been our thoughts and discussion on this. And thank you for tuning in. You have been pulled into the Black Dimension. Good luck finding your way out.